Alright, so welcome back to another episode of Inword News. This is, I believe, the final episode before 2021. And Lord motherfucking knows I am optimistic for 2021 to be a better year than 2020. So let's just all hope the same. So other than that, we about to jump into it. Vaccinations have received even more bad publicity in the last week. A nurse collapsed mid-interview after receiving the vaccine. The nurse got the shot, and in about 15 minutes, her legs buckled under her body, and she was saying she felt fine. The vaccination is probably not going to get approved publicly anytime soon. Yeah, like don't take that shit. Like, westernized medicine, it ain't the best form of healthcare. Like, look into holistic remedies is whenever you get sick or find out like some terrible news, because what you need to heal your body is all around you. That's what I went to college for, so if you want to question me on that, that's why I kind of feel like I have a good knowledge base and can give y'all my opinion on that. A video surfaced from Harvey, Illinois, where a suspect was being arrested by 3 white officers. A black man came out and appeared to be either their sergeant or some other form of a high-ranking official. He told the white men to back up, and the suspect seemed to be more responsive to the black arresting officer. The suspect then said something to one of the white officers on the scene. The white officer slapped the suspect, and the black officer immediately had the other officers put him in handcuffs and arrest him. Let's keep this trend going. It's my first time hearing about this, but I like this fucking story. Like, yeah. Like, that's what we need. Cops shouldn't be the ones responding to shit that's out of their realm of what they were trained for. Like, they're already not the most qualified people, because it doesn't take a lot to be. Nope, not gonna say that. Drake's gonna edit that shit off camera, so I'm not even gonna fucking say that. Never mind. Trump slid out and disrespected everyone by saying that Congress wasted everyone's time by trying to offer folks $600. He said he ain't signing shit unless the Congress ups the ante to $2K. We all know they ain't about to do that shit though. America, we in a long ride waiting on the government to care about us. Yeah, pretty much the government, like, unless you got some money or some influence, like, they don't give a damn about you. Like, whether you ride with them and their ideologies or not. Like, that's, yeah. For those of y'all in need, just know that help is on the way. Like, just know that. Now let's see what's going on with the sports. Fred, what you got for us, please? If you're gonna talk about basketball, don't go too hard on my Celtics. I just know that I was one of the people that, I didn't forget about Kevin Durant, but I kind of forgot about Kevin Durant, and he reminded us why he's considered the second best player in the league. Arguably the first, depending on who you're talking to.
Happy holidays, everybody. It's your boy, Uncle Fred, and we are back with another segment of Inword Sports. The NBA season has officially kicked off, and I must say, the Lakers look like the Lakers. They look like the champions. But Brooklyn looks very good right now. The Slim Reaper, I know he doesn't really like these nicknames, but man, I gotta call you the Slim Reaper, because the way the all black, the shots over the top, the way he's taking people to the lane, man, he's killing boys. Hey, and I appreciate him for this. So I must say, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, this pair looks really dangerous. I mean, he's almost looking like the Kevin Durant of OKC that we love, combined with the Kevin Durant of Golden State that we hated and we feared. Now he's paired up with Kyrie, and I don't know about you guys, but Kyrie Sage in the court, getting rid of all the bad juju in the arena, bringing that good energy in. If he's gonna keep doing this, and that's why Kevin Durant is shooting the way he's shooting, well, man, look here, I'm gonna need me some Sage and like for real. I need all the sage I can get if that's what the type of energy that saging brings into the arena. Because the way that those guys are playing together is going to be an exciting season. Now I know that Denver is a great team out of the West. They're gonna challenge the Lakers, but let's be real, nobody's really challenging the Lakers. The same way I look over in the East and I look at Miami like, you know what, they could be a formidable opponent, but then I just don't see it. I see Kevin Durant doing exactly what he was doing in the West, now in the East with Kyrie. I mean, that's a dangerous pair right there. So I'm excited to see them contend for a title. I don't believe that they will knock off the Lakers, but it is going to be interesting to see the coaching and how that plays effect with Steve Nash. Kevin Nash, I'm thinking about wrestling. With Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni and Amari Stoudemire. This is going to be a great staff. I'm excited to see what the Lakers have to say and how they will respond coming out of the West. And the West is loaded this year. My Houston Rockets are looking good. I know I talked bad about James, but James, I'm here to apologize to you because my brother and James, I believe that you are going to stay this year. And I also believe that this team that we have this year is also just as good as the team from 2017. Now, do I believe that this team will be the number one seeded team in the West? No. Do I believe they will be a number 3 team in the West? No. But I do believe that we can make it out of that 5-6 and really make a push for the playoff. Now, can we go up against the juggernaut that is the Lakers? I don't know, James. We got to see what you got. I know you can put up 50, but can you allow Christian Woods to get 30? Can you allow, Eric Gordon to get that same 20 in that game? I mean, are you okay with scoring 15 and 15? Are you okay with that? So it's a matter of, is James willing to change his style of play? Because it's never the talent, man. He's a walking 50 piece. So it's a matter of, is he willing to change his style of play so that the Rockets can assert themselves in that contender position? But let's move on to college basketball. In college basketball, hey, man, Iowa, I don't know what happened, man. Minnesota came in, got a big win over the number 4 team in the country. Jalen Suggs out in Gonzaga have been holding it down, defending that number 1 spot. And I mean, they've been knocking some folks off. I like Jalen Suggs to be the first-round pick this year in the NBA draft because, I mean, this kid is balling outrageous. I mean, back in Minneapolis, he was, one of the best football players, best basketball players, and now look at him at Gonzaga, holding it down, number 1 team in the country. Shout out to that young man there. In HBCU hoops, we got to shout out Morgan State and Troy Baxter Jr. again for dropping another big win on us. Got a win out against Delaware. Now, I normally don't credit HBCUs for these type of wins because I feel like these are teams that we should be beating. But, hey, man, Troy Baxter Jr. has been playing consistently at a high level this year. I think he averaged right around 16-4 this year on the season. So he's out there going out there to get a bucket. Even against Rick Pitino's Iona, the kid was phenomenal. I mean, shooting. This team was shooting them out the gym. I like what I see with Morgan State. So let me go ahead and rattle off the new rankings for you guys for HBCUs. We got to do the dirty work for Michael B. Jordan, right? So, first team first, Norfolk State. Yes. Whoop! Hit you with a curveball. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Norfolk State got a big win over George Mason. And I like that win because George Mason is a bracket team. This is a team that is a quality win. I like the fact that Jalen Hawkins came off the bench with 14 points. Like, the fact that they have bench points to go along with people with stars like DeAndre Carter, that is what you need to become a legitimate bracket buster. So shout out to Norfolk being the number 1 HBCU in the country right now. Number 2, my boy Troy Baxter is doing his thing at Morgan State, and those guys are balling. So they come in at that number 2 spot. The number 3 HBCU in the country. Now, normally you have to have played 3 games or more to be on this list, but I am impressed with the wins that the Bulldogs have been pulling out of Alabama A&M. Yes, Alabama A&M has had some big wins, you guys. Like, I'm talking about South Alabama, 93-90 in overtime. That's a big win. Another big win down in Alabama as they beat Samford. So, I mean, these are some good teams that we're talking about that they're beating. Now, I still want to see them in conference play. as they have to deal with Prairie View, and they'll have to deal with Texas Southern as well. And you can't sleep on Alabama State, as Mo Williams is really putting together a great program down there with Trace Young. So you can't really sleep on these guys, but I really like what's going down. Number 4, I have to give this to NC Central. I know that they just took a loss, but man, NC Central has been balling outrageous. CJ Kaiser is possibly one of the best scorers in the MEAC, if you ask me. I see a few people like Troy Baxter, another kid out of Coppin State who's been balling as well. I like having NC Central at that 4th spot. So those would be my 4 teams that I say would make it in. Michael B. Jordan. Now, this next topic, it's kind of one that I've been pondering over and I've been praying over. So I just got to go ahead and put this out in the atmosphere. I believe that Zaire Wade, I believe Bronny James Jr., and I also believe Mikey Williams should attend an HBCU. And here's why. Now, these are 3 names that we almost can guarantee are going to be called on draft night when that time comes for them. So why not just let's dibble and dabble in the experience rather than what the university can do for you? What can you do for the university? And here's what these 3 young men could do for an HBCU. And we'll just go with Howard to start it off because, I mean, it is the Mecca. Well, television exposure is a big one. Now we can start looking at new rivalries like George Washington or possibly hook up with Georgetown. That'd be big in itself. There would be ticket sales that would go through the roof. Attendance will go through the roof. Could you imagine what the campus would look like if LeBron and Savannah popped up at a game, or if Zaire popped up at a game, or all these pro scouts start showing up to Howard University or Morgan State or NC Central or NCAT or Alabama A&M or even Texas Southern? Could you imagine what that looked like? I mean, let me tell you a little bit about history about HBCUs. So nothing like this has ever happened except for in football. Now, back in the day, Bear Bryant used to hook up with Eddie Robinson and they would play a football game. And you better ask about how Eddie Rob got his name in coaching and how he beat Bear Bryant in the University of Alabama. A lot of people don't like to talk about that, but that's real history. We could talk about how in 1978, the FAMU Rattlers went on to win the FCS National Championship. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. But now, we would have the chance to talk about 3 big names, 3 potential first-round picks, 3 NBA All-Stars, future All-Stars. We will be talking about these young men attending an HBCU. We were talking about these young men taking the Mecca, taking Morgan State, taking Alabama A&M, taking them to the playoff, taking them to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. Man, could you imagine NCAT being in the Final Four? Could you imagine what that would be like? Could you imagine how rocking Hampton would be to find out that they have just made it to the championship? This would be crazy. I mean, people from all over the world would be coming in just to see an HBCU put on a show. And man, I honestly and wholeheartedly believe that if these young men paired up, the 3 of them, and they paired up with Makur Mako or Khalil Madding out at Howard, that team is explosive and waiting to that whole team would be nonstop. And I just love the idea. I know it's just an idea, but these young men are going to make the best decision for themselves. They're going to do what's best for them, for their futures, for their families. And I completely support whatever the decision that they make. But man, the idea of having those 3 taking us to new levels, man. Whew. Coach Prime has found himself back in the headlines, but this time he's asking for an invite to a bowl game. And this is what we need at HBCUs. Now, here's what I say we should ultimately do. The SWAC and the MEAC, both teams should be entering in as automatic qualifiers for the FCS playoff for the 2021 season. That should definitely be happening. Everybody should test themselves and see how good they really are. NCAT has already said that they are going to accept their bid as an automatic qualifier. I believe the SWAC should be the 12th one to then dwindle it down to 4 at-large spots. Now, I really like what's going on here because I like the idea of having an HBCU represent not only in the FCS playoff, having an HBCU represent in the Celebration Bowl, and then have another HBCU represent in our own bowl that we formerly know it as the Heritage Bowl, which was the original HBCU National Championship anyway. But now, instead of having the SWAC MEAC Challenge, we possibly can open that door up to taking that money that we put there and allocate it towards hosting a bowl game, whether it be with the PWI versus the HBCU, 2 HBCUs, or 2 PWIs. Increase the revenue, guys. That's what we're about right now. We need to increase the revenue, right? So that would be a big revenue drop. And then we talk about potentially having 6 HBCUs in postseason play. That would be big in itself. Now, being that I say that the selection committee would have to make some standards for these schools, I would say 6 wins at a minimum, similar to how the bowl season is currently going. That way you have teams that are above 500, you have quality games on the field. And then we could talk about having schools playing that have also missed out on postseason play. And that, like, let's say a McNeese were to miss out, but they would have qualified for the Heritage Bowl hosted at Jackson State. Well, that would be big if Jackson State were able to host the game there and have FAMU playing McNeese. Yeah, that would be big, right? So these are scenarios that I would love to see come into play. I know that it's going to be a long road uphill, but I'm very excited for this up and coming season in the spring 21, but I'm more excited for fall 2021 as the SWAC is going to expand and we get to see NCAT compete at a whole new level. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for another segment of Inword Sports. It's your boy Uncle Fred, and once again, happy holidays, everybody. Be safe. I'll see you next week.
And now to the Y'all Hiring segment. See, is this more energetic and interactive for you? Third Eye Business is a photographer based out of Montgomery, Alabama, and Columbus, Georgia. He does photography for all events and reasons, graduations, headshots, and even just because you want some pictures. His one rule is he doesn't do anything for free, so have your budget ready. Just like, yeah, that should go without saying. Like that's something. Shout out to this dude for knowing his worth and charging y'all for it. Like, should nobody have a problem with that. Fatal Fantasy is a Georgia-based cosplayer, but he's also a good visual effects editor. If you want to add some extra flares to your videos, he can hook you up. He's also a big nerd, so you don't need to have to feel embarrassed for whatever you need for special effects. He's also a big nerd, so you don't have to feel embarrassed for whatever you need special effects for. He would probably love it and more. He would probably love it more if you were a super nerd. Dre, why you calling this man a nerd? I'm sorry, I don't know you, but I don't think that you're a nerd. But Dre said you're a nerd. Over the Moon Sweets is a sweet treat company that operates in Columbus, Atlanta, and Montgomery. She does those fancy chocolate covered strawberries and other treats doubled up in a sugar, pretzels, Rice Krispies, apples, all the stuff you see in the fancy magazines. She can create these beautiful treats for baby showers, weddings, birthdays, graduations, or just because you want some. So you try to get your sweet tooth satisfied, y'all see who to get in contact with. Dre dropped the coloring book. It's on Amazon. I never had a dad, so what is for the children that grew up without a dad and think it means that they're missing out on something? You're not. Dre's words. Dre will write more, and hopefully these books can be used by social workers and therapists for children and adults that may not have coped with their different lifestyles. So shout out to our man Dre over here, like the Ignorant Noodle producer. And we out. Be safe this New Year's holiday. Like, stay out of trouble.